Did you know that in The Little Mermaid, Ariel isn't the only character to have a tragic coming-of-age story? In fact, what if we told you that a different character had an even more devastating start to their journey under the sea? Well, grab your tridents and point them to Atlantica, because after this video, you might just be seeking justice for Ursula. In this video, we hope to do exactly that, and show you that there's a whole lot more hiding under the sea witch's villainous persona. Before we dive any further, let's establish what we do know about Ursula from the film itself. From her first moments on screen, a few key traits are established. She's vain, she covets the life of luxury that was taken from her, and she clearly has no fond feelings for the flimsy fish folk or their ruler. We also know that Ursula is super manipulative, but we don't really see her outright lie throughout the film. Though she plays up her sympathy for the poor unfortunate souls that she services with her magic in her song, aptly titled Poor Unfortunate Souls, she does help them as she claims to, or at least she offers to. Ursula is a master of spin. Even without her magic, she is a truly impressive manipulator with her words alone. With that, she's able to broker deals that heavily favor herself and make it sound like something worth selling your soul for. If her sprawling garden of polyps made up of mer-people who couldn't pay her price is anything to go by, clients are not hard to convince for the Sea Witch. Throughout the film, we also find out more about her motivations, and they're especially laid out for us when shortly before the third act, Ursula declares, "Triton's daughter will be mine, and then I'll make him writhe. I'll see him wiggle like a worm on a hook."
Triton's daughter will be mine, and then I'll make him writhe. I'll see him wriggle like a worm on a hook.
She even goes so far as to straight up tell Ariel, "It's not you I'm after, I've a much bigger fish to fry." The thing we never stop to question is why Ursula would want to see Triton suffer. Sure, she misses the life of luxury she once lived, but being in the good graces of the king, perhaps as a court sorceress, would surely offer a simpler route to luxury. Of course, we're never meant to question it. It's only natural for the villain to want to destroy the good guys. It's a simple, straightforward trope that's been played out time and time again. But Ursula is far from simple. In fact, Ursula is an incredibly intelligent character, showcased by her ability to leverage a simple deal into complete control of the King of the Sea. Even with all of that taken into consideration, it's still kind of hard to side with a grown woman, octopus hybrid creature, who spends the whole film manipulating a child. We have to remember that Ariel is only 16, and 16-year-olds aren't exactly known for making the most well-informed decisions. Couple that with a powerful adult giving you what many a mermaid before you failed to identify as an objectively bad deal. Ariel really isn't the antagonist no matter how you spin it, so why should we care about Ursula? The answer lies in the fact that she wasn't always a powerful sea witch manipulating the innocent young girls of Atlantica, that once, Ursula herself was an innocent young girl. The film itself doesn't give us much to work with in ways of a backstory. However, if we turn to some additional material, henceforth referred to as the extended canon, we can piece together a more interesting tale of Ursula's origin. The 2016 novel Poor Unfortunate Soul, A Tale of the Sea Witch, tells us the tale of a young Ursula found adrift at sea by a fisherman. The fisherman rescued the young girl clinging to a piece of driftwood and took her in, raising her as his own in the town of Ipswich. There, she lived a normal life with her adoptive father. But as she grew older, Ursula began to feel a call to the sea. When she finally heeded this call and entered the seawater, she was transformed into the tentacled form we see in the film. When the townspeople saw what she had become, they were horrified and attempted to burn her at the stake. It was only through the intervention of her adoptive father, who freed her from her captors, that she escaped this fate. Tragically, as Ursula made her getaway, the fisherman was killed at the hands of the townpeople. Years later, Ursula returned to Ipswich to seek her revenge. Now a powerful sorceress, she laid waste to the town and took the townspeople as her sea-born minions. It was then that Triton, king of the sea, would come to her and reveal her position as his long-lost sister. With Triton, Ursula would finally return to the kingdom to which she was born, her true home, Atlantica. However, this was far from her fairy tale ending, as Ursula and her newfound brother would often clash during her time in Atlantica. In fact, Triton would go so far as to request Ursula not show her true form to the people of Atlantica and take on the image of a proper mermaid instead. Things came to a head when it was revealed that Triton only sought his sister out to prove that she was unworthy of the throne following the death of their parents, leaving Triton as the only suitable heir. It is only Triton's wife, Queen Athena, who treats Ursula with even a modicum of kindness, even defending his sister to Triton himself. However, after her tragic death at the hands of pirates, even the queen could no longer protect her. Ursula was eventually driven out of court, and the rest of the story follows The Little Mermaid as we know it. But more can be found across different versions of Ursula's origin. In the revised book of the Broadway musical adaptation of The Little Mermaid, we learn that the source of Ursula's power, her shell necklace, was a gift from her father Poseidon, who on his deathbed presented the shell to Ursula out of guilt for his inability to love his daughter and disgust at her existence as a whole. In the ABC television series Once Upon a Time, the shell is again shown to belong to Poseidon, but instead of giving it to his daughter, who he still doesn't really love, he uses it to steal her singing voice, taking away any reason for her to leave the kingdom. The shell is ultimately stolen from Poseidon, but it's still used to take Ursula's singing voice, though at least it's not her father that does it. In every version of Ursula's backstory, there's a common thread. Her family always betrays her. Whether it's her father's disgust and inability to love his daughter, or her brother driving her out of the kingdom for much the same, the only people to have shown her kindness across all of this are her adoptive father, a human man, or her sister-in-law, Queen Athena, both of whom are long dead by the time the story in A Little Mermaid begins. It's understandable why someone who had their happiness ripped away from them time and time again across every version of their story would carry a bit of ill will towards the perpetrator of their suffering. In the film, we watch as Ursula's plan fails, and we rejoice to see a villain facing her comeuppance. But knowing what we do now about her origins, could there have been a version where we celebrated the victory of the witch? Thankfully, we don't have to look too far for that retelling, as 2018's Part of Your World, an installment to A Twisted Tale, an anthology book series based on various what-ifs of classic animated films, tells us exactly what would happen if Ursula had come out on top. In it, Ursula succeeds in marrying Prince Eric and defeating King Triton, and spends half a decade ruling over Eric's kingdom as Vanessa. In fact, she does such a good job commanding Eric's forces that she expands their land, conquering the surrounding kingdoms. The newfound Queen Ariel of Atlantica's pursuit for revenge is quickly thwarted by the presence of guards that Ursula had placed along the shoreline. Throughout the story, Ursula shows herself to be a resourceful ruler, who, despite being cut off from her source of magic, is still able to utilize her particularly vicious brand of intelligence to get her way, such as by poisoning an emissary who dared reject her trade offer. Unfortunately, or fortunately if you actually enjoy seeing the good guys win, Ursula is defeated by the conclusion of the story. It just wouldn't make sense for the storybook villain to come out on top. If Ursula was ever to win, for her to ever be the hero of the story, she can't be the villain. So what if she wasn't? In a different universe from our own, perhaps there exists a version of Ursula who never became the evil witch of the sea. There are many roads to redemption, but most of them have one thing in common: her father. It's possible that had she hidden her true form from the townspeople of Ipswich, Ursula could have had a peaceful upbringing in the seaside town, similar to the childhood of Arthur Curry in 2018's Aquaman. Without the death of her fisherman father, Ursula wouldn't have a traumatic backstory. And when her brother rolled around and eventually banished her from Atlantica, she would have a home to return to. In another universe, Poseidon could muster up an ounce of paternal affection for his daughter and not project his own prejudices on her, or maybe just refrain from trying to steal her singing voice so she won't run away from the kingdom. In both instances, the threat of Ursula is neutralized. In one, she doesn't grow up to be resentful of her home and family, and in the other, she's far, far away from it all. Instead, the story we watch unfold is a predictable one. A child raised in terrible circumstances turns into an adult with an agenda, one who is consumed by her quest for revenge and ultimately falls victim to it all. and Ursula, freed from the failings of her family, is someone who likely would not have become a villainous sea witch. Unfortunately for King Triton, Ariel, and Ursula herself, that is not how the story goes. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Make sure to let us know in the comments below if you think that Ursula could have turned her life around with just a few important changes to her story. See you in the next one!